guys, we're at Hotel Drover today shooting a wedding. We got Cade and Morgan.
This last weekend, I photographed such a good wedding at Hotel Drover in Fort Worth, so let's talk about it. Hotel Drover is a venue in Fort Worth that is a hotel, and it's like kind of Western chic, I would say. A lot of people compare it to like a set of Yellowstone, and it was so much fun. I'm so glad I got to be a part of it. It was really fun because leading up to the wedding, I met up with Morgan and her mom at the venue at Hotel Drover, and they have a restaurant, so we sat down and we had some snacks and some drinks and got to know each other. And it was just, I think it made a huge difference in the way that the photos turned out because I had built rapport with them and they just trusted me to do my thing. And so it really, I feel like, made a big difference on the wedding day. One other thing that I really like to do for clients is take Polaroids of them on the wedding day. I use a Polaroid i2, and I really like that Polaroid because it gives me a lot of control over the images. It's really sharp. It's the more expensive model that they have, but I really love it. So I live in a neighborhood that has a makerspace, and if you're not familiar with makerspace, it is a kind of like, it's like a work center that has a bunch of crafty machines, but they have a laser cutter, like a Cricut, but they have a Cricut, but they also have a big version. So I got them a little white book from Amazon to hold their Polaroids. I asked her what her font for her invitations was, and I used that to make a cutout of their names. Anyways, so I had this little book that I had ready for them for their Polaroids for their wedding day. When I got there, I photographed all the details first, her invitations and all of that, and then they got to their room and I photographed her in her dress, getting into her dress with her bridesmaids and her mom. Once it was on her, they steamed it out a little bit. It needed a little bit of steaming. And we were really ahead of schedule, which was great. That never happens on wedding days. We did all the bridesmaid photos. We did a lot of bridals of her, and I got to, because we had so much extra time, I got to experiment. And so I had been wanting to try some flash during the daytime, and so I was able to do that. And look at how cute the pictures are. I just love how they turned out. I think they were so cute. But then I also got some like moody ones of her. Honestly, because I had so much time on this day, I was able to get a lot of different looks. Whereas I feel like on wedding days, most of the time, I don't have as much time to play around, and so it's kind of more standard shots. Not always, but I feel like that's a lot of the times the case. So then we did all the bridesmaid photos, and I loved all of the bridesmaid dresses. They were all in black, but the dresses were like so, I felt like vogue and chic. They looked really good. And then after that, the couple wanted to read their vows privately to each other before the ceremony. And so we had them stand back to back. And I really prefer doing back to back versus around a corner, because around a corner, I feel like the lighting is always really good on one person, but not on the other person. And so when they're back to back, I can control the light a lot better. And plus, I just feel like it's more intimate, it's more tender. So they read their vows, and it was really sweet. The funny thing is that while we were waiting on the groom to get there to read the vows, we had so much time. And so she was so funny. I loved her so much. She just sat down on the ground on her dress. Like, she like had a big princess dress, like a 90s style dress kind of was the inspo. But anyways, she like lifted it up and just sat down crisscross on the ground. And I loved her for that. I just thought it was so like such a cool bride thing to do. What I loved about Morgan is that she was not super concerned about things in a way that it like detracted from the day. So she was just so easygoing and honestly ideal. I loved it. She was great. That day, my husband was actually second shooting with me, which was really nice to have him because he knows exactly what I want and how I like it. And he's an amazing photographer himself. So he took the guys and they did groomsmen photos and they walked down the street. It was really cute. Meanwhile, I went up to the bridal suite with her and her bridesmaids, and we took a few more bridals. She got her hair touched up, and we just kind of took a break, which was nice. And then all the guests started arriving, and they looked so good. They were in, it was black tie, and so they all dressed really nicely. The ceremony started, and it went off without a single hitch. It was beautiful. The weather was perfect. The lighting was perfect. Everything just looked really nice, and I was able to get some really good behind the scenes of that. and honestly, it was just, the ceremony went so well. And then after that, of course, we do all the family photos, and I thought this was really cute. She had a group of her mom's friends that were her something blue. So then after that, we did wedding party photos, which were pretty quick, and then we went and we did bride and groom photos. And so we did those in the tent. We did a couple. I tried to mix it up and do a really good mixture of like editorial and documentary. And so the way that I like to do that is I will have a 50 on one hip, which is kind of my more editorial look because it's a more compressed, kind of creamy look. And then on my other hip, I have my 24mm lens, which is giving me that more like I'm with them, I'm in the action. And so I did a little bit of both. I also had my film camera on me still, so I was able to do a lot of film photos, which was really fun. These are a couple of the film photos that I loved. I think they turned out so good. So I do kind of two different film looks when I'm shooting film at weddings. For one, so one of the looks is like the toy camera look, which is more of the disposable style. It's a little more gritty, a little more candid and like actiony. A lot of those are with this Kodak Ektar it's like a half frame 35mm camera, and I love those. These are some of my favorites from that camera. I also use this camera that's by Lomo Apparat. It's just a really wide camera. I usually use black and white film in it, like a 3200 film, because if the flash doesn't fire, the image is usually still pretty good. And then for the rest, I used my Canon 1V with a 35mm lens on it, and I used my flash for a bunch. So I think those turned out really good. Bride and groom went and they had a little snack and just hung out while all the guests filed in for cocktail hour. From cocktail hour into the reception, the room was very cute. Betsy with events and experiences, she did such a great job. So they did all these candles and there was a lot of bows, like bows was kind of the thing, and it was black and white and modern. They had a black and white checkerboard floor, which I always love, and it looks so good in dance photos. So overall, the vibes were just vibing. It was very good. And then after that, the bride and groom came in and they did all their formalities, cake cutting, first dance, all the fun things, toasts, and then we just partied, and it was a lot of fun. Honestly, 10 out of 10, definitely loved it. So here's a quick screen grab of every single photo that was taken that day. I just like to put these in Photo Mechanic or Lightroom and scroll all the way through them and then throw this in there. Yeah, so I loved this wedding. It was a lot of fun. Very much went for like the editorial fun vibes, and I thought the images were so good. So here's some of my favorites.